We are live on YouTube with Atlas, CEO of Ark Finance. Atlas, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, it's an amazing opportunity to be here with you. Become a fan of your work and the last couple of weeks, and a lot of the folks that we have in common are also big fans of yours. So it's a natural progression to be here, and I'd like the way you conduct your interviews and you do your research. So looking forward to this great opportunity. Brett Norden, the architect of the whole system, who re-engineered what we've been able to understand. Hindsight's always 2020. We do have that advantage. So yeah, absolutely happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, that's high praise. That's high praise. But let's keep the group hug going here. We were chatting just before we started rolling here, but all the friends that I trust in DeFi recommended Ark, or they were either in for the NFT presale or they came in afterwards. They're all like, these guys are class acts, so you got to talk to them. So glad to be doing this today. Cool that we're coming live. For our viewers, this is the first time that we've gone live on this channel before. We will release the audio version as a podcast once this is wrapped. Maybe within the next day or two, it'll be out on all the major podcast apps. But it's just a cool format that I'm trying out. So I'm glad you could be the first one. But I read through everything, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not invested yet, but I'm definitely planning to be after what I've looked through in terms of the documents. But we've talked about ROI dApps on this show before, and I kind of want to just get your vibe on why is yours better than everybody else's. We don't need to name names, but I want to hear from you, the CEO, what the features of your platform are that you think are the biggest highlights.
Well, I think that really the main features about Ark, and why we've created Ark, why the smart money is really coming here to Ark, is that we've had the great opportunity of hindsight being 2020 and looking at what's happened before, take inspiration from some of these great developers and these contracts, and be able to analyze very, very carefully what were the issues. Because if you play the same game and you have pretty much a similar system, you're going to have a similar outcome. And for me personally, the initiative was to change everything as much as possible with the common understanding and purpose of sustainability on a long-term basis, where everyone gets to play the same game, regardless if you came in at whether you came in at the pre-sale or at launch, or 2 months or 3 months into it, or a year, you could look at Ark and you're going to have the opportunity to play that same game. So really evening out the playing field. Because personally, I became sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same game with a different name. And you're seeing this not just I think in the ROI dApp space, but in a lot of the DeFi space, where that little 1% that's friends with the dev, the marketing guy, like that little crew that most people don't get invited to, who always make money because they're first. And then they get their 5, 10x after launch and they move on to the next one, rinse and repeat. And, you're seeing these hockey stick parabolic charts, which, all look the same. It's the pump, the dump. There's something that we really understood, that the hyper compounding mentality is great for the first folks. It's horrible for the little guy that buys the FOMO pump. Oh my God, Atlas, we're going to the moon. And, they buy this like inflated price because everyone's doing what's good. And then there's another aspect that I really disturbs me. It's a toxic mentality of don't sell. And if you sell, you're a traitor, you're going to get insulted, you're going to get banned. So you've got to drink the Kool-Aid, and you have to play the game as you're told, and you have to buy the narrative, because we're all going to the moon, and you cannot stop that process. And unfortunately, if you take a step back and you analyze it and you look at a chart and you understand that you can compound your way to a max wallet, but it's kicking the can down the road. And we see this happen in America, the federal government. I mean, we've seen government shutdowns because they run out of cash. So they can't pay the post office employees, they can't pay the federal agents. It's a mess. So what do? They just go and print more. And okay, let's approve the new print. Let's get everybody paid with this fiat. And again, I mean, we're looking at a $31 trillion debt ceiling. It's ridiculous, but that's the way the game is played. And we're seeing in crypto that it's not only a problem, but it's a narrative, and folks are starting to get smart about it and say, hey, if I'm not into pre-sale, I'm not buying.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to be the exit liquidity for all you guys that get in earlier. And then, you have an issue, and they're right, because it's not fair to the person that comes in later. So when you hyper compound, you get to, the first set of folks, get into that max wallet. What option do they have? What can they do? Just sell.
Just sell. That's it. Yep.
And we're talking here huge, massive amounts. So you get those massive, heinous red candles. People start panicking, and it just sets everything off. So what we've decided to do were several things. Primarily, making sure that folks do what I call the second thing, which is, one of my rules for investing, which is get a return on your investment. Pay yourself.
This is a shocking concept, sir. You're blowing my mind here. Where you're supposed to sell and take money out of the system?
And quickly.
Oh, quickly.
And responsibly. Yeah, because you have a family to feed. At the end of the day, we're all here to make money, not lose money. We're all here to be responsible adults and put food on the table and get a win. And the only way to win in this business is to at least cover your initial investment. If it does really good after that, amazing. If it doesn't, well, on to the next. But you are not in a position where you're going into that cycle of, oh man, again, I got in too late. And so how do we balance that out? How do we do that in our phase one? We're telling, investors, hey folks, pay yourselves. Every night do a podcast, pay yourself. We just did our 100th consecutive podcast last night. Pretty awesome. And you and your community are always welcome. We do it every night at 6 p.m., 11 p.m. UTC. And I realized that no matter how many times I would tell people, pay yourselves, they get the stars in their eyes and they want to compound their way to hog heaven. And then they realized that the folks who had discipline, who understood to take profits responsibly, they did well. And those that didn't, do that. And you understand that investing is a lot of it to do with emotions, and greed can take over, and folks just lose sight of being responsible and having really an understanding of covering your basis, which is the ROI. So we've built that into the contract with our CWR, where these are the goalposts that you're playing with it. If you claim too much, you're going into the red line of like, hey, we don't want you to drain the system. And if you do want to cross that line, we'll drop you down to 0.75%.
Yeah, that was a really interesting mechanic that when I was doing the research for the project, and this is probably a good opportunity to actually bring Brett into the stream. I'm going to hello, Brett, welcome.
Hey, how are you guys doing? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you okay. Thanks for joining. But I wanted to bring you in because I watched your video on the doc site last night about explaining the CWR, the compound withdrawal ratio, and how that works. Maintaining a positive ratio keeps you at that, it's 2% per day ratio. But as soon as you dip below that, you get locked at 0.5%, I think, for the duration of your tenure within our ecosystem. Yeah,
if we can get Brent, is still here. He's in the passport office right now with his kids. So if we could go back to that in a little bit when he's probably back in the car. But I could go back to really giving you the explanation. It's a great question. Why is it different? So we start with keeping you within these goalposts, and those goalposts are set there to ensure that everybody gets a win. And in a way, you're forced to take profits. And, for those that want to sit there and just collect a bunch of ARK token to wait for price appreciation and dump it, we've also have a 200 ARK per day sell, and we also have a 1 sell per day. So, also beyond that, if you, have too much and you're waiting to the end, you're going to run into some whale taxes that are just, you'd have to be, I think, pretty ignorant and not really understanding the system. So the idea is to every single day, we also don't do the 100% compound or the 100% claim. And when Brett's available, we're going to go into those details. But we want folks to get a balanced, compound and also withdrawal strategy where you're going to get that fast ROI. So it's good for the protocol. It's good for the investor because they're getting their ROI. It is a harder system to run because we're paying our debts every single day. We're not kicking the can down the road until that happens. And I think you've seen the effect of what happens later. So it's completely shifting and turning it upside down. We don't have a toxic culture, and we're caring about the investor and saying, listen, once you reach your ROI, which is pretty fast, and you're sailing on the ARK, you're calm, cool, collected, and it's, you're in pure profit. You're going to see that we're going to have a lot of happy investors with smiles on their faces going around, wearing the shirt. I 1X, I 2X, I 3X. So that was very important. And by doing that and also having a stable dynamic price, we're not pegged. We're not a pegged price. We're dynamic depending on the volume. We can go up a bit. We can go down a bit. But we're taking away that hockey stick up and then the heinous hockey stick down. So right now, you're sitting here, you're thinking about investing. You're not looking at a $28 token and thinking, am I buying the top? Am I being careless? Do I need to be afraid? Did I miss the train? Did I miss the boat? Did I show up too late? And, we've created them, the system where you arrive 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll be able to look at this and say, I can play the same game as the one day folks. Just like maybe you're with your kids and you guys play Monopoly one night and you have some, friends of the kids come over and everybody gets the same amount of cash. Everybody has the same opportunity. Luck comes into the draw, right? But you finish the game, you put everything back in the box, you put it away, and maybe 6 months or a year later, you play another game. If we couldn't have built a system that any investor in the future could look at it and have that same experience, then we're wasting our time. We have other things we could be doing in the world, right? And I put 100%. Aside a lot of other things to ensure that we could build a fair, balanced system. And then going back to what I told you, that 1% that always gets in, I've learned that in this business, you can't trust anyone. You can trust the smart contracts. Even with teams, they're friends today and they're funding each other tomorrow once money and greed gets in the way. And you can't even trust your influencers. You can't even trust your whales. They can stab you in the back in an instant when there's a lot of money on the table. So what do? We make sure that any core team member here, as well as advisors, pre-sale, and private sale investors, everyone had an airdrop of their tokens into the vault. So we're all playing the same game as the investors. And if today you wanted to purchase ARK token, it cannot go to your wallet. It goes directly into the system because you're not here for that hockey stick price appreciation. You're here for a high yield system where everyone is on the same boat, on that same level.
A smart approach. I've seen some people jump in those pre-sales and literally just hold the liquid token because the best play of the entire protocol was to just hold and then dump at the top. So you've managed to eliminate that. So I think it's a pretty smart way to go.
We sleep good at night.
That's good.
We don't have to wallet watch. We don't have to chart watch. We're all here playing the same game, and I can't tell you how much that helps. And we're able to really speak to folks and show these things and explain to them why is it different, because it's been leveled out and fair. And there is just, that whole fear factor of, who's involved, who's the big whale that came in at launch, and they bought a couple $1 million, and now they're going to wait for the moment and dump on the rest of the community. And we've studied so many exploits, so many ways that in these systems people have been able to figure out through multi-wallet strategies, playing the round robin, where they'll go to the dev wallet. We call it the Guardian wallet, that supports the system. And we've been able to do it in a way that supports the system. And through that, I mean, last night we gave almost $1,500 away in our Spark rewards. Every single night we take half of the round robin that the Guardian wallet gets, and we give it back to one lucky investor. So that just takes your investment and just puts it on nitro. It's really amazing. So that's another thing that makes it special. There's no project out there that's giving you pretty much, a free airdrop of tokens. Again, that doesn't go into anybody's wallet because they could turn around and just dump on you. It goes into their vault account. It starts earning that 2%. So we start off with that 2%. Pretty much you get to the point of almost ROI, depending on what strategy you're really using. But after that, if you're not reinvesting or bringing fresh capital or going out and getting referrals, the system drops you down to 1%, which is still a fantastic rate of return. It alleviates a lot of pressure, and the system's been fairly balanced. If you're contributing into the system, you get to enjoy the ultimate optimized rewards. If you're more passive and you're sitting back, then that's fine. You're going to be dropping down. So that is something really, really key, and also anyone can earn the same amount of max tokens, which is 80,000 tokens per wallet. We also have a buying limit, as I'm sure you saw. So it comes through a lot of frustration, a lot of disappointment, and like I said, being sick and tired and saying there's got to be a better way to ensure that if we're going to invest into something, it's not the same old thing. It's not the putting the pig on the lipstick. It's actually re-engineering the whole system. And there's always an understanding that being first market advantage is absolutely important. And some folks have had, great success. I don't know if you're old enough to remember AOL, You've Got Mail. Before, they were first to market and they kicked some ass, but they came Google,
dude, I had so many of those trial discs. You'd boot them up every, 2 weeks or whatever.
Remember Yahoo, right? Like,
love
where
it.
Are they now?
Yahoo was king of the internet. It was king of the internet.
Netscape. But, you have people that come with the innovation that just take it to the next level. And Dave had the opportunity of seeing all these other great companies go before and analyze their mistakes and analyze where they were able to capitalize on the market. So, we've taken advantage of that. And I think because of having that data and having, amazing folks, Dr. Kelly Snook, SK Crypto K, folks that we can really say are DeFi experts and ROI dev experts, and sitting down with them and saying, hey, let's have a serious conversation here. You've seen what's great. You've seen the flaws. How can we make it more sustainable? How can we make it more fair? How can we protect that little guy that hears about this 7-8 months from now and do our best to ensure that he's not coming into a situation where he's to exit liquidity? And, it's been a really long process, 10 months. The main, I think, hurdle for us was finding the right Solidity developers and front-end Web3 React developers. I went through 2 sets of teams who, of course, over-promised, under-delivered. I had one Solidity dev take 2 weeks to answer a DM, which is...
That ain't going to work. It's not in this space.
Yeah, charging you an arm and a leg. I mean, $35K for a front end, on React, where, if you took somebody from the real world to say, an HTML developer, he might charge you $5.5K. But because it's crypto and it's React and all this, like, they just take advantage. And so, in life, what's the kind of the analogy? You got to kiss a lot of frogs, like the children's stories, to find the right people. And we have. And really, I think that the investors have taken the time to look at the project and look who's behind it. and who we've been able to really bring on board. It's a massive team of developers working pretty much full time here, as we have a very ambitious roadmap. Most of it is not even on our webpage, as we want to keep everything really secret. But another part of what's different is we are not focusing so much here into the DeFi investor pool. We consider this to be a small pond of fish.
It is,
and
yeah.
And they're kind of depressed, and a lot of people have had a really bad year, and they're scared, and it's just kind of a little kind of negative situation for a lot of folks. I mean, you look at what happened with Luna. I remember one day just 8 people I read committed suicide. It's been rough. It's been really hard. However, we wanted to get the experts on board, educated, invested, so we could go on our journey, because our prime directive here is very clear. We are going to fish in really the ocean. We're going to cast our net where we really understand that the investors are. This is the average Joe and Jane. This is the Uber driver, the farmer, the single mother of 2 kids who's struggling to make ends meet, and they need some DeFi in their life. They want to hedge. That's why we're rolling out our mobile application. One of our core team members here, his name is Jan. He's been a blockchain developer since 2011. Made a ton of money in ICOs. Got burned out of crypto. Went back to the real world, and currently today he has 2 mobile app development companies with 35 full-time devs in there.
Wow.
And their clients really are mainly European hedge funds, banks, and government institutions. He was the head of IT security for the country of Holland. We've got serious talent here. Our servers, our scripts, everything runs by the same, pretty much in the same level of security as those hedge funds, those banks, and those government institutions. And mobile application for many of his 2 companies cost you 400,000 euros plus. So this is the talent, and this is why I know we can deliver, because ideally, our product, what we're working on, actually tomorrow night, we're going to do a reveal of our V40 mobile, platform. And the V40 really means it's the prototype, because we understand who our end customer is. It's not a DeFi expert. It's not somebody that's been here trading on charts and understands MetaMask and can do this with their eyes closed and can read a white paper 7 times to finally understand it. It's we're understanding that we want somebody that is just like, dude, I don't care how it works. I don't want to go under the hood. How much money can I make? How high is the risk? And how do I operate it?
So I just want to interject on that point, because this is a big thing that I've been preaching on this show, is that the DeFi pool it's a pretty close-knit community. I mean, within two people, you can probably touch all corners of the DeFi community, I would imagine. So I think it's important that you go beyond that, but I think what you're talking about in terms of simplicity and use is exactly what we need. I don't think people give 2 shits about how to do all this stuff. They just want it to be dead freaking simple. So if you can pull that off, I think you're going to absolutely annihilate any targets that you had, because that's what we need in DeFi right now.
Thank you. So your understanding, and these are the things that we see a lot of great ideas, and I know plenty of friends are geniuses, and they're brilliant, but they can't execute.
Yeah.
They don't have the business skills, or they can't delegate, or maybe their ego is the problem, or they don't have a personality that's social and open to being able to onboard or work well with others. And sometimes they can be their own worst enemy. I believe that success comes from having an amazing team of proven professionals that are not looking at the clock, and trying to find a way to sneak out the back 15 minutes early, that the manager won't see them. And there's plenty of that culture in companies and in business. As a business developer in the real world, I've understood that when you find, these superstars, I'd rather have one of them who's going to roll up their sleeves, who's going to be there, wanting to do the work. How can I help? Hey, they're falling behind. Let me go over there and see if I can do something so we can get there on time or early. and isn't looking for the praise. Like, when the dog comes, hey, I brought the stick over, give me a little pat on the head. And, because some people are really good at like executing and doing stuff, but then they're kind of toxic because they want that constant praise. Oh, I did this. So it's hard to find the folks that can deliver, but they're also doing it from a selfless team player mentality, where it's about getting the mission accomplished. Doesn't matter who or how or when, and if something it's not done, you do it. I mean, the name Atlas isn't a coincidence. The Greek mythology of holding the weight of the world on your shoulders, because I've brought a lot of people to success, carrying them on my back, because if it's not done, I'm going to go do it myself. I'm not going to sit there and just fail because somebody is not pulling their weight. So that's the key, I find, to be able to deliver on your roadmaps. And that's why you see a lot of folks who not deliver. They don't have the team.
No, you're spot on with the team thing. I think this is the difference between people that grew up as their career in crypto and people that came to crypto from another career, though. I think that having some sort of business and development background beforehand is a major asset, because you understand that deadlines are important. You understand that communication is important. You maybe have experience either working with or leading a team. And I think that ultimately these are the teams that are going to be the most successful in crypto long term. I think, 5 friends who basically know the bare minimum to pull something off can pull out a great project. But I think the ones that are going to have true impact are the ones that are coming at this like this is their business. They are entrepreneurs, and this is how they're going to do things, and they're not going to deviate because this is the new hotness. You're not going to add AI to the end of Ark just to moon the chart. You are doing what you know how to do, and you're going to do it well.
So we have our target, we know who our customer is, and we've engineered from that point backwards. So this is who our end customer is. Now let's build a foundation. Let's build a system that the experts can play with and be enticed and interested in. And let's get them here so that they will be open and ready as we bring that mass market here to DeFi. If they have questions, if somebody wants to really get involved and they find it's very interesting, they want to do due diligence, we have an army here of experts who are happy to receive them, understanding that every new investor is helping the project and doing something for their own investment and their financial projections and strategy, right? So as we cross on over, we are doing something that we haven't seen done in this space. And so people say, well, how do we know this is not going to fail like everything else? Well, we've got the tokenomics that changes everything around. We're going to have a lot of people quickly walking around happy, smiling, I got to win. And we're also understanding that we're going to a market that hasn't been untapped with a team that has expertise above and beyond when it comes to mobile app development. And then it's creating that funnel to bring folks over. The traditional marketing just doesn't work for these type of systems. There's an education part. So I hate to use this word, but we're, I'll say it. We have to dumb it down in a sense. So like you said, it's easier, but what we're calling it is simplifying. And if you look at our webpage, front page says DeFi simplified. So that is our hurdle to take a complex system like that. And we've got some products that we're going to present where, for example, you'll have a $250 package. Part goes into the foundation, a part goes into the vault, another part goes to legacy. Depending on what you get, so you got like a 250, you got 1,000, and then you got like the team builder, 200, 2,500. So again, they don't have to worry about the back end. And through the mobile app, let's say you're invested, and you go to a barbecue. And you say, yeah, man, I'm in this project. It's, it's return on investment on steroids. It's quite amazing, but it's working. Is it guaranteed? No. Is there any promises? No. But it's, a good team that's doing something different and special, and it's growing massively. And if you're interested, here, look at my mobile application on my phone and look at my return on investment. And all they have to do is scan your QR code from your phone, which everybody uses already. People understand how to use QR codes. They would be able to download the Progressive web app and take out their credit card, purchase crypto, and be right under you into those, packages that, again, it just simplifies, and ideally even get to the point in the future in our roadmap where it's fiat in, fiat out. They don't even know or care that there's crypto really, making them in DeFi, making them these high yields, because there is, if you think about it, still a lot of stigma, the FTX debacle, the Luna, and just the narrative, crypto. So we could even go into a broader market where you're fiat in, fiat out. We do all the work in the back end. You don't care what's under the hood. You just want to get from point A to point B. And I think that's going to take it to another level. I mean, you're seeing 90% inflation happening in Lebanon. Actually, they devalued their currency on February 1st, 90%.
I saw that.
Our foundation product, it's like a high yield savings account. You could put BUSD in, it's liquid, take it out at any time, and you're earning 100% APR. And you get to qualify if you have over $250 to win, $1,500 a night, just being there. So these folks can't trust their bank. You look at Argentina, where they're having 100% inflation right now. Less than 2 decades ago, these folks were down in the subways chasing rats so they could eat. Previously, 2 weeks before that, they had a bank run. And you know what happens when people go do a bank run, right? Want to get their cash out. Even in America, that would be a huge issue. So we understand there's a need on a global level. Inflation is affecting everyone. I don't care where you live on this planet at the moment. The cost of, food, rent, fuel is taking an impact. And we understand that if we can connect to these folks and simplify it for them, they're going to take a chance. And of course, we always say, maybe 2%, 5% of your liquid assets is not going to cramp your style. It's not going to change your lifestyle. It's not going to make you homeless. Do not get a third mortgage on the house. Do not be irresponsible. A little bit goes a really long way into a great system that's paying you this high yield. So we got Brett Norden, and I know you had some great questions. Brett, are you in a position to come on board and talk with us?
Yeah. Yes, finally. I'm free of the post office chain. I was getting my my kids had to get their passports renewed, and we had to make an appointment during the school day and actually take them out of school to get it done because they don't have availability anywhere. It's tough to get a passport these days.
Yeah, my kids have expired passports, and we haven't renewed for a similar reason. It's just such a hassle. So good on you, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So Atlas informed me that you were the guy that wrote the entire white paper, all the docs and everything, and I scrubbed them all last night in sort of my research ahead of time, and I just wanted to compliment you because it was simple, it was straightforward. You did a great video showing people how to use the application and also sort of strategies within that. So I think boiling the message down into a very simple to understand message is the start of it, and then taking it even a step beyond with what sounds going to be a fantastic mobile app is kind of phase 2 of all this. So kudos to you, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we spent a lot of time. All the advisors had their thumbprint, on the mechanics and the way that it functions, and all the great features that we're seeing. To make it easier, fully transparent. There's a lot of information on the DApp, and we understand that. We're trying to simplify that down. I think you guys probably talked about that as much as possible for the person that's coming in that doesn't have, the DeFi background. And that's our next challenge as we move closer to getting mass market adoption and really introducing these tools as ways to put our products in more people's hands on their mobile phones. So, yeah, we have another layer coming now, which is going to be simplifying the whole onboarding process, getting people into the investment, and not relying on, every expert that we have on the team even now, because that just won't scale. So we're building all those marketing and front end tools to bring in people without, burdening the team leaders and the syndicates with the efforts that go into education, onboarding, getting crypto from fiat to crypto to our protocol. And so that's the next big push right now.
No, it's important because I got a friend into another one of these types of dApps, and the number of sessions required in terms of his understanding of how to get fiat DApp was like crazy, and I still think now if he had to reload gas, it would give him a lot of grief. So anything we can to simplify the message is great. But I think it's important because we've seen this type of project launch in peak bull market. We've seen these projects launch sort of in transitional markets. You guys launched really in bear market, and I don't know that the bull market versions of these types of products were sort of stress tested for this type of environment. So I think it's good. I think people need to get out of the compound or die mentality, because they can all pull up an Excel sheet and calculate what their account's going to look like in 60, 90, 180 a year or whatever, but they can't compensate for what the price of the token is. So you sort of taken all the things that did work and then eliminated the things that didn't work and brought them all together into one app. I think the people want this. I think they want yield. I mean, as we sit here, the market is quietly imploding. And I assume we're probably headed back to at least the low 20s, if not the teens in terms of Bitcoin price. But people want yield. They want reliable income that they can use to pay their bills. So, and it sounds like that's what you're trying to deliver.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you think back even a year ago, no one would have looked at this project because it wasn't promising those, huge payouts and big 100Xs and all those things. We want price appreciation, but we don't want the 10X. We don't want the 50X. We want a stable return. Where you're going to make your big profits is going to be with the long-term play. You're going to 10X the number of tokens, not 10X on the price. And so it's striking that balance. And in a bear market, I think people now understand that, since we've gone through that heartburn and that pain of the last downturn, we see what's happened with other projects. I know you guys probably talked about, the big hockey stick up or the big hockey stick down. Every chart looks the same. We see the stress on liquidity come sooner than later. And with these big wallets maxing out, it just, puts all of that stress, and the price chart reflects that. So if we can smooth that out, and starting in a bear market, I think people are starting to see this now. Our price has been stable because the system is stable. The system is balanced. People are taking out, but people are also coming in with liquidity, and people within our system are reinvesting back into the other products. And so we're seeing this kind of symbiotic relationship with steady growth, not exponential growth. And we're seeing that with the way that the mechanics are working, it's forcing people to withdraw, and ultimately it's up to them if they sell right away, or they put it in the foundation, or they buy a legacy NFT. But we're seeing that take a lot of that initial pressure off. Of course, there's that we had a pre-sale and a launch, so we're going to have a sizable number of wallets in the system. But all of those are going, and I'm not sure if you guys talked about NDV and dropping from 2% to 1%. But as their liquidity in, liquidity out equation becomes neutral or negative, which is the NDV value, they'll drop from 2% to 1%. So we're going to see a majority of wallets here in the next few weeks go from that 2% to 1%. And that's going to take even more stress off the system. And so, if you're kind of doing the math in your head, we see a steady growth path right now. And we'll see, those liabilities start to decrease as people reduce their daily ROI. That's going to help out the system tremendously. So we're seeing, health even in a bear market, and I think people are resonating with that story, and they're tired. Me personally as an investor, we're tired of that kind of the mentality of a lot of the projects with, let's kick the can down the road as far as we can. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, there's a ton of people that are pulling that liquidity out and draining the system, while at the same time, telling everybody that narrative where, hey, it's bad to sell. It's harmful to the protocol to take tokens out of the system. Where that we've seen the exact opposite of that play out, where it would have been a lot healthier. And from an investor standpoint, I think just about 90% of the people that were in the other protocols are wishing right now they had taken out earlier and sold earlier. Like, wow, remember when, XYZ project, the price of the token was at, $5 or $10. I wish we could get back to that point. It's probably not going to happen. And so us staying sort of in this balanced state, and I would say we're in the sweet spot. We had Brandon, the drip guide, tell us that we were in the Goldilocks zone. And I love that saying that he kind of coined there. I'll probably steal it from him. But yeah, we're staying in this zone where it's the appreciation of tokens is really the exciting part of the protocol. The price, fluctuations up or down, great. We'll see some price appreciation and we'll see some price reduction. The ILC and the way that the mechanics are balanced, it's gonna, sine wave. It's gonna move. We just happen to have been in sort of this Goldilocks zone right now where there's just not, a lot of pressure on the upside or the downside that's overcoming the liabilities that we have coming out of the system. So we're in a nice steady spot. And I would say, there's no bad time to get into the protocol, and that's kind of the way we designed it. And there's plenty of opportunity to ROI if you just have patience and, you follow our CWR strategy and you follow a program or a schedule that's good for both you to ROI quickly, and then it's also good for the protocol down the road.
No, definitely. Now, I do want to ask about this. It's the Intelligent Liquidity. Can't remember what the acronym was. What is it called?
Controller.
Yeah,
The ILC.
ILC.
Yep.
We've seen versions of this liquidity type setup work before to try and keep prices in range, and with varying degrees of success. Is yours different in some way, and then the other ones that haven't worked out as well in the past, or are you just sort of kind of being more dynamic about it and understand that the range itself is going to move as the market does? What's your approach there?
Exactly. Yeah, the range is going to move, and what the way that it's designed really is to alleviate those pressures on either side of the chart that are extreme. We're not trying to peg, and I think that psychological, emotional, issue that investors have, if they see any fluctuation and it's sort of a peg price, then they get worried. If to the downside, it's a panic, it's a bank run, right? Oh, there's no more liquidity. I better get out what I can right now. So I think the peg idea or concept was just had that flaw in it, in that people become emotional when they see swings either way. If it goes up, people are fine, but if it goes down, one big red candle, even if it's 10%, looks bad on the chart and can cause that that fear in the community, and the sentiment starts to also erode. So we understand that. One of the things that people need to keep in mind is the circulating supply of these tokens is so small that some larger teams come into the project, and you can see huge jumps in the price, 10, 15, 20% in a matter of a day or two. And those can create those same feelings of missing out, right? If you go too high to the upside, people look at the chart and they go, oh, I missed it. I'm going to come back to this project later, without even digging in and understanding that there's still an opportunity to earn and compound your way into, a huge bag. But then on the opposite end of that, if they see, the price jumping so quickly, that can cause the fear, and those bank run ideas and bad strategies kind of set in. So we know that, we want to maintain a floor. We want to protect the ceiling. And the way that we can do that is by, using BUSD to support a floor, and using the token to sell back to the liquidity pool to protect the ceiling. So we don't have those extremes. We're still going to have, some level of volatility and movement in the price within a dynamic range. But the dynamic range is really set to protect the protocol and the reserves. And it's really based on the outstanding liabilities and, what people could potentially dump out of their wallets. We want to make sure we have liquidity to protect our investors. So we are cognizant and aware of all of those different dynamics, and the ILC is really balancing those out so that we don't get these wild swings and these speculative behaviors that we see, in other protocols. And I think Atlas, in the beginning, I was listening in, he did mention that all of our tokens, when they're purchased, they're put into the vault. So we take out that kind of speculative nature and people gambling on the token, and also, arbitraging and doing a lot of other things that we've seen hurt other protocols, with, trading and bot trading and things like that, sort of taking advantage of the community. So I think that at the end of the day, our ILC, or the concept of our ILC, is going to be one that people follow and study down the road. I think right now we're still, because we're only 53 days, I think, from launch, we're obviously gathering data and we're improving and optimizing it as we go. So it's dynamic, it is intelligent, and we're hoping it's going to create the type of system that people are going to be attracted to, not just 1 year, but 2-3 years down the road.
No, it's good that you have that kind of foresight, to be planning for the project longevity in that case, because I think it's in everybody's best interest to make sure that this thing is as sustainable as possible for the long term. Now,
Absolutely.
Atlas, I want to bring you back in and talk roadmap a bit. We talked a bit about the mobile app, but what else is on that list that you can share right now? We lost Atlas. That's
sometimes
okay.
when I get talking, he takes a little break. Sorry. He's
all
back.
Good. He's back. Atlas.
Nice. Just had myself muted. Well,
all good. So I was just asking about the roadmap.
There's not a lot we can reveal.
Oh, come on. This is the alpha show. You got to give it away, man.
Well, I think you've noticed that there's a lot of folks that promise and overpromise, underdeliver. And there's also, I've learned this through my professional business development career. There's always folks looking to take great ideas and incorporate them. So my philosophy is always get it done, have it in your hand, and then you go out and talk about it and you promote it. And there's just again, sick and tired of people promising you things and you don't see them. So we do everything different here, man. That's why, we have this amazing community. That's why the smart money's here at Ark, because they're seeing us deliver so much. I mean, we're way ahead. We already have our DAO contract for the investors to be able to vote. That's another key factor here. We heard from a lot of other projects that their voice wasn't heard. They didn't have a vote. So we incorporated this vote for major decisions, and that's the legacy NFT holders, which are, really it's a partnership into the system. They're getting 1.5% of all transactions, buy and sell. And through the legacy NFTs, we've created a external investment fund, which is, pretty exciting. I mean, we're doing pretty well. I think we're, days out. Excuse me, I think we're like 56 days out, and we already have over $356,000 sitting there waiting to go to these external investments. So we are both, we could say, very successful in business development in the real world. My background is really coming from a decade of physical oil trading for Glencore, Trafigura, big companies that are moving the markets. And from there, I went into really managing structured trade finance desk for several banks in Asia. And after 2 decades in that, I moved over into renewable energy projects. And we are working on a couple things. I can tell you, for over 2 years, I've been working on a layer one blockchain, completely off grid. It's going to really bring some fire. And Ark is a piece of a much bigger, grander system. But that's taking its time, probably about a good 1.5 years away from that coming to fruition. But we're here right now with an amazing product that really sells itself. But what we're going to do is set up external investments that are going to bring funds and liquidity back into the system to support the system, which we haven't seen any project do successfully. They've created lotteries, they've created trading bot sort of situations. It's like if you do the same thing, you're just the same. So we've always, I think through what we have delivered to our community, proven and shown without a shadow of any doubt that this team is just completely on another level and is bringing real world expertise as we understand our prime directive. I spoke to you about where our customer is. So we are developing right now some businesses that we are going to integrate into Ark that are going to give the folks in DeFi an opportunity to use these products in the real world, as well as the folks that are in the real world that are going to use the products exposure to their ROI app. So it's a great marriage. It's a great synergy between the two, and they're working in unison to really create a bigger funnel and bring more investors into both products. So that's going to be coming shortly. But again, I can't tell you the details yet. We're going to be, showing our V40 of the mobile app tomorrow. That's been in the works, for some time now. And now that we have it, it's like, okay, now let's go out and talk about it and show it. So it'll be the same, but I think you'll find through time, once you understand and we reveal these opportunities, we have a fiduciary duty to our investors to give them all the information. Generally when you're working in the real world, you have contracts. You can check out the companies, you can see their background. At this point, you should even check out the officers, the balance sheet, right? Like I said, you can't trust. You have to verify, and you have to work with folks, at least for me, that I've done business with before previously. I believe that a track record is very important because it usually equals future performance. And when you're looking at investments, especially with understanding that we already have a high yield system, we want to find true value and low risk opportunities that are just going to help everything grow. So we'll present all that information to the members of the DAO and let them make the decision, as it is not our money, it is the investors' money. So they should decide. So pretty exciting.
I accept your shady kind of not answer, but you're going to come back on the show when you do have something concrete to share, which is fantastic, because I appreciate it, though. It's not hard for anyone to go into Canva and mock up a promo video about something that hasn't even been started developing, right? So I'd much rather you bring something tangible to the world and then announce it. So I think that's the proper order of things. So I'll give you a pass on that one. But thanks. But
Absolutely,
guys, I've been talking on this show for a number of weeks now to different teams in the we'll call it DeFi space. They're not all ROI dApps. They're all doing kind of crazy stuff. But I kind of boiled it down to three things that I think is going to make projects successful over the next couple of years. It's going to be a foundation with a solid community, which you seem to have. It's going to be a solid team supporting that community, which you definitely have. But then it's also around ecosystem and external revenue source, because we can't just keep recycling the same dollars through the system. That doesn't work indefinitely. So it's very encouraging for me to hear that you are, in fact, thinking along these lines. And I hope that you prove the case, because I don't think that we've seen a great example of this in practice just yet. So I'm very curious to see how this flows over the coming, let's call it 6 to 12 months, because I don't see the market getting a ton better. And so if a project is solely relying on hype or for like FOMO wave investors coming in to buy into the project, it's not going to work out. So I'm really curious.
Well, we've built this for the bear, to keep folks afloat and give them the safe passage through the markets as they are right now, and also leaving room for really going into the bull market whenever it does come. I personally, for the next 18 months, I'm not hopeful or wishful, and with that in mind, that we've built this, and we've been through crypto winters before, but now they're talking about an ice age. So the way I look at it, the hull of the Ark is an icebreaker hull, and we built it purposely for that, and understanding that folks are seeking passage or seeking refuge and an opportunity. And we're looking at the folks, like I said, in around the globe, and understanding that a product like this is really going to make a huge impact and difference in their life. So
no, it's cool. And I was curious about the name, and I think it's a pretty cool sort of narrative that you've built around the whole thing about surviving the bear by getting on the Ark. I like it.
Hey, we couldn't write it better than it's actually unfolded. It's just all come together, and it wasn't on purpose. I've had some people write me DMs like, hey, like you're coming out with this product exactly at a time where there's a lot of folks looking around like, where do I put my capital? What team, what experience do they have, and what have they proven in a short amount of time? And we're seeing massive growth really happen here, and every day it's just increasing because folks are taking the time to do the due diligence, and that's our request. Do your due diligence, spend the time. That's why we have a podcast. Generally, they're on average 3 hours. That's a lot of investment. We could be doing other things, but we have 5 full-time devs in the back that gives us the opportunity to be forward-facing, and the community, in my opinion, will make or break you. So if you can't spend the time, and if you can't be there, kind of like the folks, I don't know if you've ever been in a restaurant and the owner comes to your table, looks you in the eye, looks your wife in the eye and says, are you having, a great experience? How was the service? How was the food? 9 out of 10 times you're just like, of course it's good because you're here. And I'm sure you do this to all of your customers because you're not relying on a manager or a waiter or just somebody in your staff to tell you what you want to hear. You're sitting in the back just looking at the tape and saying, oh, it's a good day. It's a bad day. So, that's always been my approach to business. You have to be on top of it. And if it's a community based, then you have to excel. You have to leverage, invest so that anyone at any time who hears about this can come and speak to us live and ask any question. We don't have that toxic culture of, you can't talk about this or you can't do that. At the core, we are investors. Brett, myself, we've seen what's been done and we say we could do this so much better. Been able to, really create this team. I met Brett, as an investor in our phase 1, and look at him now. He's in phase 2. He's the architect, and we've promoted. I've been able to spend so much time with the community to identify talent and bring him on board and say, hey, you're promoted here to the officer deck. Let's get to work and roll up your sleeves and let's do this in a way that no one's ever seen it done before. And through that leverage and having that access, it really does create a huge difference. Like I said, the product sells itself, but it's how you present it, the empathy, the respect, the culture, and also understanding that there's other opportunities. We do every night a DeFi session where we talk about other layer ones and Aptos and even TON, which is the Telegram token. I mean, these guys raised $1.2 billion. They went, knocked on the front door of the SEC. They filed all the forms and they got fined $12 million and told to give all the money back. And they said, okay, wait, so we can't walk in through the front door the right way. We're going to get, smacked in the face and spanked and told to get out of here. And they went and restructured and they did it more in a decentralized, autonomous organization. And they're back up and they're running. And we've seen, these things, and we're educating our community to understanding that there's not only Ark, and you need to diversify yourself. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket and you drink the Kool-Aid and you just go too much in, we can't guarantee anything. But we've taken the time. In our phase 1, we launched, paired to Crow. Crow was 53 cents, and they took away the staking rewards for the cardholders. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and it was overnight, man. It dropped to 11 cents. I mean, something that we were looking at 90, all-time high 98 cent, Crow, and then the floor fell. Not any of, it wasn't my mistake. It wasn't an investor's mistake. It wasn't a marketing person's mistake. This is things that are out of your control. So you look at Ark or phase 2 and you say, oh wait, they're pegged to BUSD. They're not on Crow anymore. And that happened before the FTX thing that we made the change to go to BUSD and Binance. Great decision looking back that we did that and we launched here. But we learned so much through that experience. And again, it's no secret why we're paired to a stable. Forget the upside. We're in the bear market, so protect yourself from that downforce. And the mechanism itself is prepared and it's been organized in a manner that's conducive to having a stable system, as you already understood.
Yeah, so, capital preservation in this market is key. So I think that's very wise. Spoken like a true investor.
Thank you. So it's made by investors for investors, and we as a community want to invest. We want to also start an incubator for other projects. We have a genius Solidity developer. We've already created our own marketplace for our legacy NFTs. You could buy, sell, auction, and other projects can come and use that platform. We haven't built a front end for that. So I mean, we're just going next one. So we also have, Solidity as a service. We have our scripts, we have our back end, because we understand that folks are out there, they have project ideas and they want a safe, proven, team that can develop that for them. Because I went through that, as I told you, in the beginning, I couldn't find reliable teams. So again, through those services, we want to bring back those earnings to the whole, Ark ecosystem. So there's a lot of stuff that that we understand that we can leverage. That's part of that whole funnel of external that's coming back in.
I'm impressed. But
Yeah.
we are coming up on time. Go ahead, Brett.
I wanted to add a quick note on the external revenue. And I think one of the things that a lot of projects struggle with in the past is how do you raise capital to be able to bring those external revenues back in, and Atlas mentioned these are stable real world investments. And of course we have the DAO layer between, the protocol and those external investments just to create another layer of protection, but then also decentralization and voting and so on. But we had the opportunity to design this into the system, and those legacy NFTs that we have are utility based. So they have a bunch of different functions inside the app. So a lot of people purchase them for that reason. They want the additional utilities, they want the DAO votes, they want the referral reward levels, they want the daily ROI, they get to qualify for the Spark rewards. And so it becomes kind of a no-brainer when they do the math on, the returns. We're getting 0.25 to 0.35% per day in a stable coin return on those NFTs. They're like, wow, well, this makes a lot of sense. I get all these utilities, I get this ROI. But, in the background, we're taking that capital, and Atlas mentioned the, sort of like a crowdfunding almost, or like an opportunity to own a part of Ark. We call it the ownership protocol. But 80% of the capital that they use to mint those legacy NFTs, that goes into that investment pool. And so we have the mechanism in place to do it without disrupting or asking for additional capital. These, good folks that are participating to purchase the legacy NFT, they're getting all of these benefits up front, but in the background, we're, piling up a nice investment fund that we can go out then and bring revenue back to the entire ecosystem. So while they're getting these benefits, sort of the tide rises all ships, right? The investment that comes back in and supports liquidity and supports, any future development projects and things like that, it's just going to help everybody. So it's helping themselves, it's helping the protocol, but we had a chance up front to design this into the protocol. It's an integrated part of the ecosystem that I think, other projects might glean off of in the future, because I think it's kind of a clever way to raise capital without making your investors feel like they're not going to get something from it right away. We have instant gratification. They're getting an ROI every day. You're getting paid back in BUSD. And right now that rate of return is less than 1 year. So I think we're at like maybe 250 days or so. People are going to start seeing an ROI on those legacy NFTs. So, it's just that I think that struggle that we've seen with other projects, we've alleviated that issue. Now we need to put that capital to work, and that's the next phase we're going into.
That's cool. Now, I'm going to be honest. I saw the pre-sale for the legacy NFTs going around back earlier or later, I guess, last 2022. And I was swamped building all the studio and whatnot. But can I buy one now? Is that still a possibility? Or is there a secondary market for them?
No, you can buy one straight from the DApp.
Oh,
we
perfect.
still have,
okay.
We still have quantities, and we're seeing a move very quickly now as, larger syndicate leaders, like I said, they all have their reasons for buying it. Some people want to be on the DAO because, sort of this exclusive group, within Ark, and they want to be closer to the decisions that are getting made and those conversations that we're going to have about, future product launches and beta testing and things like that. And then other people want it because they have referrals coming in. So they get those referral rewards. And then other people want it for the ROI component. So there's a lot of different reasons to purchase one. And yes, you can go right on the DApp under Legacy NFT and you can purchase a mint one today. You can also start at the lowest level, which is silver, and then you can upgrade to gold or platinum as you go. So you can grow with the investment, you can grow with your, you're building a team in Ark, and you can grow your legacy investment as well.
No, that's very cool. Yeah, I saw that upgrade thing in the documents. I thought that was a really interesting strategy. I mean, most situations like that, you're stuck with whatever you got, or you got to buy another one completely. So it's a cool strategy. And I like that you had the foresight to build this in at the beginning. Usually when you start talking NFTs and DeFi, it's like a bolt-on after the fact. It's some sort of roadmap check mark that people add to sort of keep the community engaged. So I like that this was incorporated right from the get-go as a long-term benefit to participating in the ecosystem.
Yes, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, That's about all time we have today, but I wanted to just give you the chance. Is there anything we missed that you think the audience should know about before we wrap up? I will take silence as golden unless Atlas is muted again.
I feel
think
bad
from
because
my end-
I wasn't here for most of it, so I didn't know what you guys covered, but I assume you guys covered a lot. So
It's all good.
Yeah, I think your questions and you gave us enough time and the platform here with you and the conversation to go over the key points. We thank you for taking the time, doing the due diligence, going through the white paper, and we hope that you spend some more time with it. And also your investors, if you have any questions, guys, come on over. We are live every night, average of 3 hours. Sometimes it goes into 4 hours, but we are here and available every single day. There's no days off. The contracts keep printing. A lot of folks are understanding that, for example, our Spark price pool that we do every night, we had an all-time high yesterday, and it's just all-time high after all-time high. We're around 1,100 and 1,200 now. We're 1,450 a day, and that's also paying you everyday BUSD. So that's a product that people are loving. The legacy NFTs we've paid out in BUSD over $60,000, and let me confirm here. We've been officially out of the gate 53 days, and they've are I think they're at 17-18% returns already in the system. So everywhere the folks are just happy. The system's printing for them, and they're really understanding that our prime directive and where we're going is really where DeFi needs to be. This small pool, it's great, it's wonderful, and we wanted these folks on board as the foundation, as they are going to be able to really help us along. So we're creating a lot of real world funnels, affiliate marketing. You see a lot of these folks on Instagram, they're on the private jets and the Lambos. Here's my referral link into this. Or you see the YouTubers, hey, by the way, sponsored by NordVPN. Click on the bottom, you're going to get 20% off of the year. And it's not shameful, it's not dirty, it's business. So we're tapping into those folks as well. And there's massive potentials, but they don't have the time to read the white paper. Honestly, they don't care. Here's a Zoom link. Come on over to Zoom. There's going to be a presentation. So we're doing this now. We're going to be starting in different languages so that folks can click that link, come see a presentation on Zoom, which everybody understands, Telegram, Discord, that's kind of more advanced, right? So we understand, as I told you, who is the end user and how do we communicate to them in their language, in Spanish for those Argentinians, Arabic for those folks in Lebanon that just had that 90%, devaluation. And this is just, I'm sorry to say, not to fear monger, but I just don't see things getting better. I think they're getting worse. And as they get worse, I think Ark is becoming a more viable opportunity and offer to so many folks around the globe. So thank you for really the platform and your time and your community.
This is a great chat. It's always it's nice to talk to the team directly, but also just people that have a good handle on what's going on in the world and how they fit into it. So I appreciate the conversation today. So thank you very much, and we'll definitely have you back in let's call it 3 months, and once you got some next roadmap development items that we can hint at. I know the chat has been goading you the entire time here into dropping some sneak peeks, but that's okay. We'll let it go for this one. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining again, and thank you to the audience for tuning in to our first ever live episode of the Rad DAO podcast. Keep it rad, fam.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.